Welcome to the Systems Alliance. My name is Jexy, and in this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this weekend's box office where Captain Marvel becomes the first major blockbuster of 2019, bringing in over $153 million for its opening weekend and $455 million worldwide. So going into this weekend, a lot of people weren't sure what Captain Marvel was going to do at the box office, especially with the reviews also coming pretty late as well. Not unusual for, a lot of movies, but still, a lot of people didn't quite know what to think. Was this movie going to bomb? A lot of people thought it was going to be a Ghostbusters 2016 type of thing, where the movie is just not something that people wanted, they had an agenda. But others, obviously, you're looking at, this is the movie that's going to bring you to Avengers Endgame. And obviously, just everything we know, Captain Marvel is going to play a huge part in getting back the Avengers and beating Thanos and all of that. So obviously, everyone wanted to see this so they could see that. And that's kind of how movies have done when they've come on either side of the Avengers movies. They've done usually really well and better than the other ones. And it's because people want to see how it ties in. So when the reviews came out, I was taking a look at those. And obviously in Rotten Tomato, it was getting review bombed. And then they kept deleting like 50,000 reviews or something like that, which understandable, but didn't have very good press. The marketing wasn't that great. The trailers were okay. If you take a poll just of everyone, they didn't make people too excited, but people were still very curious about the character because this isn't a Wonder Woman situation where everyone knows who Wonder Woman is. Everyone's very familiar with the character. The character has been around forever and in pop culture, huge forever. So to get a character like that having a movie, it makes sense with the hype. With this one, people weren't sure about her powers, stuff like that. I'm still not sure that people can tell me exactly how her powers work and everything after seeing it, but neither here nor there. The point is, this should have been a big movie, and it is. So with $153 million, this opening is as big as some of the other massive openings, and to compare it, you have Rogue One, The Dark Knight, and you get The Hunger Games. So I mean, those are huge openings. Now the difference is that unadjusted, those movies went on to either make 408 or $530 million. So there's a big range in there, and I'm not quite sure where this one's going to fall. I was taking a look at the numbers to see if I could spot any trends. Did it fall really hard on Saturday and Sunday compared to others? Was it front-loaded Thursday night showings and the Friday opening? And I couldn't really find anything. It seemed to be pretty normal across the board. The problem is there isn't many movies that open this big, so comparing them obviously is pretty difficult. So while it's very possible it is front-loaded with everyone wanting to go see it this weekend to get the glimpse of what's going to come in Endgame, and maybe, the movie is so-so, so they're not going to go back and see it multiple times, it's also possible that it's just hitting the audience the right way, and it's going to have great legs like, say, a Wonder Woman. Now, like I said, some movies opened up with this same opening and grossed about $408 million. Well, Wonder Woman grossed about the same, a little more when you factor in inflation, and that only opened at $100 million. And this one's opening over $50 million higher than Wonder Woman. So you have to wonder, Wonder Woman had the great legs carrying it all the way past 400. Will this one have the same legs, which would get it to maybe that 530 mark, where the Dark Knight sits unadjusted? We'll have to see, but obviously a great start for Disney, Marvel, and Captain Marvel. Now the other thing to keep in mind is that it does have a few solid weeks with really no good competition in terms of stuff that's going to come close to this, or like competition, like another comic book movie. So that's where most of the money is made in the first couple weeks. So I think it's looking pretty good there. But on April 5th, Shazam opens up, and that movie is getting amazing reviews. So whereas Captain Marvel, I think on Rotten Tomatoes, somewhere between 79, 80%. The average critic score is, I believe, in the low to mid sixes, depending on if you're looking at the top tier critics or just the regular ones. So, it's a good movie, but I don't think it's, like Dark Knight or Wonder Woman level, which is totally fine because it's still making a ton of money. And obviously you have movies like Venom that make $900 million worldwide and obviously not reviewed well. So it doesn't really matter what the reviews are, and what matters really for Marvel and Disney and everything is how much money is it making. But that being said, when DC Shazam opens up, because the reviews are so good, I mean, they lifted the embargo about a month early for Shazam reviews because they are that good. They're allowing people to talk about it on social media. I literally haven't seen one bad thing about the movie. I haven't seen one person dislike Shazam if they've had early access to see it. So that movie looks like it might cut into the legs of Captain Marvel, but that's weeks down the line, so we'll worry about that when it gets there. As of right now, this is definitely Captain Marvel's time to shine. Internationally, Captain Marvel brought in $302 million, which makes it the 5th largest opening internationally of all time. Now, obviously, does this mean much in terms of what it's actually going to gross internationally? No, other than it's going to gross a lot of money. To already be at $302 million, that's massive. I mean, we're probably looking at a $1 billion movie here if it has any sort of decent legs at all. But the main thing is that internationally is tough because it may not open in every single country. So the only comparable results are ones that also opened in at least that many countries. So Captain Marvel did open in almost every single country, including China, which was its big one, with over $89 million. And that's big because that makes it the 3rd biggest Marvel movie ever to open in China. So that's also a good sign. And of course, the reason that's a good sign is because the only movies that are above it are Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, both massive, massive hits, especially Infinity War. So we're looking probably at least $1 billion. It'll be interesting to see if it makes more or less than Aquaman. Not really a very comparable thing other than sort of new characters, but not really for Aquaman. He was already in the Justice League movie. Either way, if you're a comic book fan right now, and if you're a real comic book fan, I mean, you like DC and Marvel and, a bunch of other stuff, this is a great time that we live in. The fact that this many people are seeing these types of movies. It's pretty awesome. So next week in Captain Marvel opens up Japan, which is the only territory it hasn't opened up in yet. So that will give us a good picture of how it's going to go as far as the future goes internationally. Obviously, like I said, a massive hit in every single country that it's actually opened up in. So Universal's How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World comes in at number 2 this weekend in its 3rd week of release, dropping a little over 51% to bring in $14.7 million and $21.7 million overseas. Its domestic total now stands at $120 million, while its international total now stands at $315 million. So total worldwide, it's at $435 million, which is pretty awesome for this franchise. Domestically, I don't think this How to Catch Your Dragon is going to catch the first or second movie because it's just really far off at this point. But internationally, I think it's going to surpass the prior 2 movies and might become the highest grossing movie in this series thanks to the overseas markets, which have clearly caught on and now love this entire franchise. Coming in 3rd this weekend is Tyler Perry's Madea Family Funeral, dropping 55% to just over $12 million in its 2nd week of release, and its total now stands at just under $46 million. And this is a movie that is doing exactly as everyone expected it to. It's actually right in the middle of all of Tyler Perry's previous movies in terms of opening and legs and everything like that. Overseas, it's not doing much at all, only a couple 100,000, but the total of all of the Tyler Perry movies is under 6 million internationally combined. So his movies never do much there, so that's not really a worry either. The good thing about Tyler Perry's movies is that they don't cost a lot of money, so to turn a profit, they don't really have to make too much. And as I said, this is right on course. It's not the lowest, it's not the highest. It's literally about right in the middle. So another solid showing from Tyler Perry. Now coming in 4th this weekend is the Lego Movie 2, the 2nd part, bringing in $3.8 million, and now its domestic total now stands at just over $97 million. So this is actually a really big disappointment for the Lego franchise. Ninjago was obviously the low, but it was also the least known property, pretty much known only to kids. So it didn't surprise that didn't fare well as, say, the Batman one or even the original Lego one, which introduced a lot of characters that we still know and love. Of course, add in that those movies were simply better than the Ninjago movie, of course, and even this one is rated far higher, but it's just not getting the audience. And there's a lot of questions as to why. There's a lot of people saying maybe Lego is kind of done with these big blockbuster type Lego movies, and they're just going to stick with these smaller direct-to-home video movies like the Lego Flash movie or the other DC movies that they have going on with, Batman, Superman, etc. Internationally, the Lego Movie 2 brought in 3.9 million, and that total now stands at a little over 67 million. So in total, we're looking at a movie with a total gross of $164 million worldwide that's been out 5 weeks already. As I said, it's definitely a disappointment for the studio. It's not going to make nearly as much as the Lego Batman movie, or not even close to what the first Lego movie did. So hopefully they still continue, because this movie is actually a good movie. It's a decent movie. So it'd be a shame if they stopped just because for some odd reason people weren't, going to see them as much, especially if they're able to turn a little bit of a profit. But we're just going to have to see going into the future. Now, coming in fifth this weekend, dropping 56%, is Alita Battle Angel, bringing in 3.2 million for a domestic total of just around 78 million. So obviously, as good as this movie might have been towards the manga, at least that's how some people believe, or maybe it's a disappointment for others. Critically, it didn't review that great. I know Rotten Tomatoes isn't the end-all be-all, but it is barely fresh, and from the top critics, it's definitely not. It's just an interesting movie to see exactly, what people are liking about it. Personally, I was very worried about it from the start once James Cameron said he wasn't going to be doing it. And Robert Rodriguez, he may have made some great artistic films in the past. He's never really had a huge budget to deal with like this. Budget for Alita, 170 million, not even including the marketing costs or any of that. So massive, massive budget. And it just worried me if James Cameron wasn't doing it. Everything he touches seems to be gold, at least at the box office. Robert Rodriguez has had a lot of his movies lose money. And right now, unfortunately, Battle Angel is losing money. And yeah, that's just kind of a disappointment, because these science fiction movies, I think, should be making more money. But when you look at a lot of them, to get the worlds that they live in and encompass, there's a lot of CG involved. So that's why a lot of these sci-fi movies have huge budgets, over 140 million, upwards of, over 200 million. But the problem is the properties, while they might be big in some areas in the world, they may not just be big here. So they're just not going to get the audience. As much as you want to say, well, all the audiences should enlighten themselves, manga just isn't that big here. It's a subset of comic books basically here in the United States, and it just doesn't catch on with as many people. But I think this movie has a chance at making money. It's going to be very close, because with a budget of 170 million, like I said, right now, even with its international total, it's a money loser for the studio. It did bring in 11.6 million from overseas, and its international total now stands over 300 million. So total box office, 382 billion worldwide. That's not that bad. The problem is the movie cost $170 million to make. The other problem, of course, is that most of the money that the movie gets back in terms of the split between box office and theater, the best split is here in the United States. Overseas, once you have to pay to, get it over there and all that good stuff, you're looking at a much lesser total, especially with China. So this movie is probably it's gonna have to see if it can push 500 million or more to see if it cannot lose money. Once again, pretty disappointing, I think, for a lot of people, even including myself, but also including myself, not surprising. So let me know your thoughts on Alita Battle Angel. What do you think about it? Can it possibly make money, or why do you think it's not making money? Did you see it? Did you like it? Just let me know your thoughts on this film. Also, let me know your thoughts on How to Train Your Dragon, the Lego movie, Tyler Perry, all those movies that are out right now. And then, of course, let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts are on Captain Marvel. Obviously released on National Women's Day, all of that stuff, a huge marketing push for this movie. And obviously it's working. The audience is not as skewed towards women as Wonder Woman was. It's still mostly male that are seeing it, which is interesting to me, but at the same time, not really, because we know there's multiple scenes in it, even before having seen it, that we're going to deal with Avengers Endgame, and we just obviously need to know what's going to happen with that. Let me know your thoughts on Captain Marvel after seeing it. What's your review of it? What do you think? Does it match up with what you thought it was going to be? Did it exceed your expectations? Let me know down in the comment section below all your thoughts about all these movies this weekend. Let me know your thoughts about the weekend in general, because obviously it did really well. This is the first big weekend overall of 2019. Leave a comment down in the comment section below. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Twitter, and we'll catch you next time.